All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now let's talk about housing affordability, owning a home, and all of that. Of course, it's become one of the great topics of conversation in this country. Now, the Liberals are set to announce their budget tomorrow, but we've been given a taste of some things that will come. And of course, a lot of it has to do with Canada's ongoing housing crisis. Now, Canada is going to allow 30-year mortgages on newly built property for first-time home buyers. The government's also going to allow Canadians to dip into their RRSPs in more ways for more money with longer periods than before. How is this going to affect the housing market? Let's go to Martin Spalding, joining us in studio here, co-owner and operator of Fred and Martin Mortgages, and of course, one of the cast members, hosts, what would you call it?
One of the cast members
of Under One Roof Montreal, which airs at 12 p.m. Sundays on CJD. Hi, Martin. How you doing?
Hey, Elias. I'm doing really well, and thank you for having me on.
Litany of announcements over the last couple of weeks, pre-announcements by the federal government here,
it's
right?
It's an ongoing conversation, especially in our business. So last week on Wednesday, the Bank of Canada did nothing, right?
Yeah. Yes. Stood still on the interest rates. Yeah.
Stood still on the interest rates. So there were a lot of disappointed people out there. And then the Liberal government came out with a series of announcements. And as much as we believe, Fred and I, that any program that can permit someone to get into a home is a good program. But the programs that were announced last week don't get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is we lack inventory. Yeah. There aren't enough homes out there. Yeah. So we don't need to give people more cash. In some situations, yes, we do. What we need to do is we need to give them more options. And by saying more options, we need more inventory. Because if you give people more cash, more people are going to enter the market on a limited supply. And what's going to happen? Prices are going to go up. So we're not any further ahead. Yeah. So even if you're allowed to go to $60,000, and by the way, how many people do you know that have $60,000 in their RRSPs? And combined, a couple can tap into $120,000. So what the Liberal government is actually saying is that what's more important, your RRSPs or buying a house? So in a sense, you're mortgaging your retirement.
So, and that's the thing, right? You're increasing debt. Right? Because if you dip into your RSPs,
well, you're going to have to pay it back.
You have to pay it back. Right?
So they've extended the grace period by 3 years. So in other words, you only have to start paying back in 5 years. So in reality, when you combine it with the 15 years, you got 20 years to pay back the money that you pulled out of your RSPs. You don't pay it back, what do? You pay tax on it.
And I'm thinking late 20s, early 30s couples, and they want to own a home.
Okay,
That's their goal,
you're going
right?
to be paying back your RSPs until you're 45, 50, on top of your mortgage, on top of your municipal and school taxes, along with your utilities, along with everything else. I don't think that the solution is increasing the amount of money you can pull out of your RSPs. The solution is, they're called strawberry box houses. Now, we're going back in time.
Post-war.
During World War II, because of all the workers that came in to work in the factories, they started building these what are called strawberry box houses. Yeah. And they're like prefab houses, and they look like a box of strawberries. But what you can do is you can roll these houses out at a clip that will double, triple, quadruple the amount of inventory that we currently have now. And that's the solution to the problem. And that's where the focus should be. Not on giving people more money so they can enter the market, which will just end up increasing the prices of houses along the way.
So this is super interesting. We're with Martin Spalding from Fred and Martin Mortgages. So Martin, to have you here and to hear you say, well, this is just going to increase the cost of houses, And I would think, well, someone who's involved in real estate and mortgages, happy to see prices continue to go up. Why not?
Because owning a home is the best way to create wealth. I look at a home as an investment that you live in. Most people get emotionally attached to their homes because they raise their families in them. But I look at a home as an investment that you live in. And the best thing you can do is get into a house. It doesn't have to be your dream home. Hold on to that house for 5 to 7 years. Let the equity build up in it. Pay down your mortgage. And with the equity, when you do decide to sell the house or upgrade into another home, you use that equity as your down payment to continuously upgrade the houses that you're living in. That's the best approach. And, I started at a very young age. I bought my first apartment when I was 24. I bought it for peanuts. It really was a dump. But, I made a minimum down payment, and 3 or 4 years later, I ended up selling it. And I think I made $100,000 on the transaction. To me, that's the best approach. Don't go after your dream home. Don't use $120,000 as a down payment on $1 million home and then be house poor. Because ultimately what you're going to do is you're going to live for your home. And that's not a balanced life.
So with that in mind, right, I saw RBC saying average home, average income, 64% of an average income to pay for the average home in this country now. And that, to me...
Well, you're not going to qualify anyway because you have to respect two ratios, GDS, gross debt service, of your mortgage, and TDS. And so the ratios have to be 39 and 44. So if you don't qualify, you're not any further ahead. Mm-hmm. So to me, the best approach is a balanced approach. I think that contributing to your RSPs, to your TSFA, to the FHSA are all these
That's
programs.
the first time home buyer's account, right?
Exactly. So you're allowed to put $8,000 in a year to a maximum of 40. All these programs are terrific, but in a balanced approach. That's the way I would do it. And that's what we tell a lot of our clients. And when a client gets qualified for a mortgage, let's say of $600,000, we tell them buy a house for $425. Don't top it up. Because there are so many miscellaneous expenses that you can't conceive when you're buying your first home.
But then where's that in, it sounds like the $425,000 home is like a unicorn now.
There are still some good buys to be had out there, whether it's a condo, whether it's a duplex. You may have to go further out of town because if you're buying something in Griffintown, it's 1,000 square foot. Yeah. Do you really want to spend $800,000 on an 800 square foot apartment in Griffintown? Is that really a wise buy? As a young person that you want to be out in the lifestyle and with the restaurants and the bars and so on and so forth, that's not a sound investment in my humble opinion.
What do you want to see tomorrow from the federal government?
Well, I'd like to see if the budget gets through. I'd also like to see us living within our means and not growing the debt any further. I'd like to see some real initiatives to streamline the building process, because the other problem that we're having is we're lacking construction workers. So there's a real labor shortage right now. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of bureaucracy around building. What I'd love to see is a concerted effort to increase the inventory. The CMHC, the Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation, says that we're already 3.5 million houses short right now. And because of interest rates, builders have to finance their projects. Building from 2022 to 2023 is down 11%. So we're going in the wrong direction. We just need to build. Enough with the programs. Build.
Martin, great talking to you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks, Elias.
Martin Spalding, co-owner, operator of Fred and Martin Mortgages, and you can hear him on Under One Roof Montreal. That's at noon on Sundays right here on CJAD.